Okay, so let us continue with the next chapter. Book 1, Law of Salimi Chapter 8. This chapter 8 is titled the same with the title of the book, Law of Salimi. What exactly does this mean? So let us venture into this chapter and try to understand what exactly it means. Amongst all of the anime that I had seen all throughout my life until this very moment in time, at the age of 33, I could say that the best anime, from my opinion, would be Law of Ueki. It was created by Subasha Fukuchi. The whole anime consists of 51 episodes. The reason that I consider this anime to be the best anime I had ever seen is because I hold the same belief as Kosuke Ueki, which explains the title of this true life story of mine to be known as Law of Salimi. Essentially, like Ueki, every human being had a set of law and rule that exists at the core of the heart. It is the values that each person upholds and put into practice. It governs how the person behaves in life. It guides how the story for each person will go in real life. If you believe that everyone should be treated with equality, you will behave to uphold the concept of equal practices in your life. If you believe in honesty, you will never tell any lie and become a trustworthy person. In essence, your law governs how you behave in your life story. In my life, Law of Salimi governs my belief and how I behave in my lifestyle. Can you determine several of my law based on my life story so far? If you had been paying attention to my story, one of the law would be Islam is my way of life, which means that I am doing my best to practice living based on the teachings of Islam. In other words, I do not harm others. I must expand my effort to benefit others as well as I strive for peace, harmony, and goodness to all mankind. Apart of that, it means I behave in accordance to the teachings of Islam and the true essence and spirit of Islam, Tesi. Do you have any law that you live by in your life? What are your basic principles that you follow? In the Law of Salimi, I work to uphold the justice for all where it is similar to Ueki. Clearly, this action can be considered as abnormal behavior in our society today, yet I am practicing this in my true life story. I have to admit that it creates many challenges and adventures in my life because I strive to uphold Law of Salimi. In fact, any person who tried living with Islam as a way of life would face numerous challenges in their life. One reason for this would be the fact that many members of our society at the present day had abandoned Islam as a way of life or opted for materialism and hedonism. You can argue with me on this matter, but the present way of living for our society might reflect the obsession for materialism and hedonism. It is sad to admit that our society today are more concerned about striving for materialistic wealth, which can become excessive and extravagant living. At 30 years of age, I had met a lady who explained how she needs more than 12 pairs of shoes in order for her to live her life. I had seen a man who buys sports cars just to collect them, which is a blatant defiance of living in moderation based on Islam as a way of life. There are many more examples that highlight the fact that our society are becoming obsessed with materialism and hedonism. Even scholars might fall prey with the affliction of obsessing for materialism. Before I explore in more details on this matter, I would like to venture back when I began my studies at Maktab Sabah in Form 4. I was 16 years old and just moved from Kuala Lumpur to Kota Kinabalu, Sabah. In our classroom, which was a science laboratory, I began my life with a new perspective. I will not give up and I will try everything that is new to me. I will uncover my true talent in life. I shall learn my strength and my weaknesses. Without any disturbance from bullies, I intend to focus on my studies at Maktab Sabah. I wish to learn everything as much as I possibly can. Nothing can stop my desire and effort. I told myself that I can do anything. I can become the best in any field that I choose because I believe in myself. I will put all of my effort and I will not surrender. I will prove to anyone that I can do whatever that I choose to learn. I can become the best in everything if I set my mind to it. There is no limit to my talent and my willpower. I believe that I can be successful in everything that I do. Anything that doesn't kill me makes me stronger. This is my law at the age of 16 years old. This is one of the law of Salimi. Anyone who says otherwise to me shall be proven wrong. This become my new motto in life, which substitute my previous way of life that was based on anger, revenge, and anguish. From now on, I will control how awesome my life shall become. I will take hold of my own destiny. I will be invincible and undefeated. I shall become the hero of my own life story, my own story in life. I will no longer wait for things to happen for me because from now on, I decide and I take action where life should go. At that point in life, I began implementing the law of becoming stronger in everything that I do in life. This law would never allow me to admit defeat and give up in anything that I do. I strive to become the best in everything. So my life as a student at Maktab Sabah began with the will to become stronger through overcoming challenges. As it began, one of the students in my class was known as Nizam. He had an amazing talent in drawing. So I challenged him to beat his ability in drawing, even if I had absolutely no talent in drawing. In reality, I knew that I could never have beaten him in drawing, but I never gave up challenging him his marvelous drawing ability. If I cannot draw better than in his drawing, I would borrow his drawing and copy them. Later, I made it my style of drawing. Until today, I still am improving my drawing. The cover of this book is drawn by me in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. I admit that I am still far behind his level of skills, but because of my effort and unrelenting desire to improve, I have experienced a drastic improvement from the very beginning that I started drawing. Next, I challenged another student who had great physical ability and endurance. I don't think I have beaten him so far, but I did improve greatly beyond the average level from other students. If this student was known to have been the best, I will always haunt him in second place. It continues with the next students that was big and as tall as Sakuragi Hanamichi. He played basketball with great enthusiasm and talent. It made me improve a vast amount in terms of the ability of playing basketball when I started with knowing nothing about basketball before I moved to Maktab Sabah. Basically speaking, I challenged every student that were known to be the best in a specific field. Whether I succeed or not, my effort had made me experience a massive improvement in myself within each one of those specific fields. During Form 4 at Maktab Sabah, I learned how to draw, play basketball, increase my physical strength and endurance, cycling, football, and many other skills at an impressive level. There are much more that I learned during the age of 60, which I might explore in future chapters of my story. The key is to try everything and never give up until you reach your desired destination. I realized that I can truly do anything that I wish by putting a serious effort into it. I will explore further on the many skills that I gained at Maktab Sabah, but for now, the story of my life will venture into my passion of learning and knowledge. As I always ignored learning since before moving to Maktab Sabah, I told myself that such attitude would change. I began putting effort to learn, but in reality, I never really knew how to effectively utilize my strength in understanding all of the subjects that I was taught in class. Nevertheless, I did put a serious hard work to get the best result in the field of academics. While studying my subject, I began to realize how I favor the visualization concept of learning. Memorizing abstract data was my weakness as it started to show how poorly I did in history subject. I excelled in telling stories, especially in essays for Malay language. A part of that, I also began identifying students who were the best in every subject so that I could learn from them. As a result, I've always changed my seating arrangements based on subjects taught. By the end of the final examination, my result placed me as second in my class. It was considered a great achievement. However, when compared in overall performance of all students in the school as Form 4, I was number 16, if I remember it correctly. Due to that, when the new semester began I joined Form 5, I was transferred into the best class amongst Form 5 students. It was a great honor to study alongside the brightest student in Maktab Sabah. However, studying with them made me realize that my achievement in Form 4 was simply mediocre in comparison to them. I realized that I need to do better in my studies. In my last class, I got the best score in mathematics at 72 out of 100, while in my present class, there were at least 7 or more students who scored a perfect 100 scores in mathematics. It was undeniably clear that I need to improve much more in order to compete with the best students in Maktab Sabah. I made it my mission to defeat everyone in my current smart class. There was a lot of things that I should mention here, especially regarding the teachers at Maktab Sabah, but I would prefer to cover that in other chapter that focuses specifically on teachers' behavior. After toiling against the best students in Maktab Sabah, I ended up improving my ranking from number 16 to the second best student based on my SPM, Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia examination result. I never checked officially, but according to many students, that was my rank. Whether it was accurate or not does not matter much to me. What truly matters was the fact that I can achieve a good result if I put serious effort in my studies. I might not be the best, but for me, it was ample to obtain admissions to university. I obtained the following result for the SPM examination. Malay language 4P, English language 2, Islamic study 1, history 3, mathematics 1, art study 2, additional math 5, physics 4, chemistry 6, biology 3. This is the actual paper which shows the result of my SPM, which is exactly as I mentioned just now. So let's look. The overall aggregate is 13. Essentially, it was pretty good result, which enables me for university level entrance. For those who are not familiar with the scoring system, I reckon that 1P would be the best result for each subject, which is similar to the result of getting an A score. For students who are really excellent in their SPM result, would getting all A's in all subjects, such as a 10A1 result. which means every subject was scoring A for the total of 10 subjects taken. Evidently, in the later years, many students began to compete to score even better in their SPM result, which produced results such as 15 A1, 17 A1, and even 20 A1. Alas, many of such students that achieve such excellent SPM result tend to forget that learning is meant to gain as much knowledge as possible. Getting a perfect result because of pride and vanity is simply abandoning the concept of learning as encouraged by the teachings of Islam, which is to gain knowledge itself. Furthermore, many students are also focused on attaining the perfect result, relies too much on the method of memorizing information, instead of based on understanding and problem-solving approach. Anyway, why should anyone listen to me who simply had a mediocre SPM result? As stated in the very first chapter of my story, my life really began after I submitted my answer script for my last examination of SPM. Why do you think that is so? Can you explain or at least guess why did my life begin after the examination is over? The answer for this question, which took me 8 chapters and more than 23,000 words to begin answering, would be because of how Islam perceives about life. From my limited understanding in Islam, a person is not alive until he or she starts to understand the definition of life based on the teaching of Islam. According to a great scholar in Islam, a person who lives their life without a true understanding about Islam as a way of life is a dead person. He or she is alive as soon as the person understands Islam as a way of life and begins to live this lifestyle. For me, after I submitted my answer script for my final examination paper, I realized that the result itself is not important. Instead, in Islam, what is truly important is learning the knowledge itself. When you seek for knowledge, it is not done to be arrogance. With more knowledge you learn, you will become more humble. With the understanding of this concept, I started to learn because I would like to know more. When I go back to my room, I reopen my textbook and start reading with intention to learn. I read not to get a good examination result. By doing this, I started to understand what was written in the textbook. This understanding is becoming my knowledge that I can utilize in my life. It becomes a permanent memory for me. From that point onwards, I never study from memorization method, but to understand it as a knowledge kept in my heart. I felt that after the examination, after reading with the intent of learning them because I wish to know something that I didn't know before, I could answer the SPM examination with great accuracy. However, I also understand that the result is never the true intention of learning. This is the point where I started to learn for the sake of gaining true knowledge. No more memorizing data from textbook. Starting from that point, understanding becomes easy. Gaining knowledge becomes easy. Instead of focusing to score for examinations, I began to shift my intention. I am learning because I wish to gain true knowledge, which would bring me closer to understand Islam as a way of life. I began to practice what little that I know into my actual life. With this shift of intention, I became truly passionate about learning in the field of academics. Learning becomes fun and exciting. This emotion filled my selective memory to create virtually permanent memory. I could easily understand everything that I read from textbook with ease. It becomes easy to learn when learning is fueled by passion, fun, and excitement. Because of that shift of intention about learning and my capability to put it into actual practice, I felt it was the beginning It was beginning to put the first true step into the path of gaining knowledge because of the passion of learning, because of the passion for learning itself. Walking into the path of pursuing knowledge to improve understanding about Islamic teachings and implementing Islam as a way of living become the true point, indicating that I began to truly understand the concept of Islam. It marks the point where I can accept my destination in life by walking the path of pursuing knowledge. In doing so, I am able to consider that my life has finally achieved a definitive meaning. I wish to search for my own peace in life. I shall walk the path of knowledge, the very first step to pursue knowledge, because of the passion for learning would put the first heartbeat in my dead life. From that point onwards, my life begins. My true life has finally begun at the age of 17 years old. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you in the next video.